You are not your past. You're you. You're you right now. You might have done some things you wish you hadn't done. Don't dwell on that. You learn from it, that's fine, but don't dwell on it. Just keep moving. Keep moving. Use it as fuel. Say, never again. I get what I did wrong, but don't think that you're that person that made those mistakes. You're the person who's learned. I think that endurance, enduring something and building up that ability to endure things, that's also a very important mechanism that you could apply to everyday life. Like that, the mechanism of understanding how to endure. Because a lot of people are just running from discomfort. They're running from it. They're just avoiding it. It's so easy to. And like if you get distracted for a second, you're like, let me check my phone. You just start going through your phone and looking at bullshit, and you're just distracting yourself from the tiniest frustration of boredom. Just the little, we don't get bored anymore. Or if we get bored for these tiny amounts of time, and then you get distracted. So your distraction is eliminating your boredom. But the problem with that is like there's certain thoughts that only come to you when you're thinking, when you don't have any input coming in. When we're constantly looking at our phones, the only input you're getting is input from other people. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes you get good stuff out of that. But it's like a diet of only fruit. Like, hey, motherfucker, you need some protein. Yeah. Like you need to get some other things in your diet. And I think having discomfort in your diet, like having it as a regular part of your life, it minimizes the amount of other kinds of bullshit. And I think that insanity and greatness are next door neighbors, and they borrow each other's sugar. There's something about mastery, like true mastery, that requires you to shut off massive areas of your life, personal areas, relationships, education. My education was a joke. I mean, until I was 21 years old, until I started doing stand-up comedy, I didn't read books. I mean, I might have read a Stephen King book here and there to kill time while I was on the train on my way to training, but there was no desire to educate myself. If I was educating myself, it was maybe reading the Book of Five Rings to learn better strategy to be a better fighter. That was all it was.
Or was there ever a point where you said, I'm a little out of balance, I need to go the other way?
Well, I realized I was a flawed person for sure. And I think in realizing that you're a flawed person...
What helped you realize that?
Just fucking up. Just being an idiot. Realizing, girls would get mad at me, or maybe guys would get mad at me. Whatever it was, I realized that I had flaws, I knew that I was... And then also failing at comedy. One of the hardest things to do is to go from being really great at something to sucking at something. And that something that you suck at is now your path. And that's what I found myself in comedy. I could get laughs every now and then, but I knew I wasn't anything special. I knew I was terrible. And there was something exciting about being terrible because I had potential, because there was potential for growth. If you start doing it and you're great at it, like naturally, like maybe I wouldn't have had the motivation to do it as a living for 25 years like I've done. I don't know. But at that time, making that transition from martial arts competition to being a comedian, that's when I started going down the road of balance and started trying to balance myself as a person. And I started trying to almost educate myself to have more things to talk about on stage. And then along the way, my curiosity started to blossom. And then I started to just be interested in things for being interested in them. And as I got better as a comedian, I became less worried about what other people thought about me and more worried about just improving and keeping this sort of momentum going.
Best piece of advice you've ever received?
I don't think I've ever received a best piece of advice. I think it's an accumulation of pieces of advice. It's like a constant accumulation. There's not one thing that anybody ever said to me that made sense. That like, okay, this is it.
This is the life changer. It's
taking it all in. Take it all in. And
yeah, everybody wants a magic pill.
Yeah.
Even with advice, you want this magic pill. It's a grind, kids. That's the best piece of advice.
That's it.
Embrace the grind. Fucking get out there when you don't want to get out there. Get up when you don't want to get up. Push when you don't want to push. When you want to take a nap, get up and go. Just go. You got to go. And you got to force your mind. You got to steel your mind to do that. And if you do that, you'll be successful and you'll be happy. And if you don't do that, You're going to be miserable, and you're going to have these feelings like you could have done more. That's the worst feeling in the world. The feeling of unrealized expectations. The feeling of like you could have done something and you didn't. And now you have to sit with your failure. And I don't like that. And I've felt that before, and I've learned from that terrible feeling. And so now I know that the terrible feeling that you feel when you don't want to do something, you have to force yourself to do it. That's a good feeling. That feeling is good. You got to embrace that feeling. You got to embrace it, and you got to tell your body, like, nah, bitch, I'm in control of this motherfucker.
Fuck you.
Let's go. And you gotta like condition yourself to that. Like, that has to be like a thing. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy life. I enjoy life. I enjoy, you know, having a few drinks with my friends. I enjoy going out to dinner. I enjoy hanging out with my family. I enjoy all those things. But there's a lot of shit that I do that I don't enjoy, and I enjoy that I do those things. That's what I enjoy. I enjoy the fruits of that labor. I enjoy the results of the grind.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the best advice we've heard on here.
It's the GOAT, man.
Fuck yeah, it is. And it's the mental part of it for sure. Like, physically, you can push yourself through things that they're tiring to do. They're hard. It's heavy. It's stressful. This sucks. The mental aspect of it, that's when
your body can take way more than
right.
what your mind will let you.
Being in control of that.
Joe,
yeah, your mind's a little bitch.
Yeah, I know, man. You gotta.
Your mind wants to take naps,
right?
But you have like two different things in your mind. You got the mind. You got this mind, the part of your mind when everything's great and you're doing something great and you're excited and you're inspired, and you got to find that part of your mind all the time. Go find that motherfucker. He's in there. Just grab him. And you got to wade through all the lethargic feelings and all the hesitation and all the procrastination. You got to just wade through that like a shark. Just cut through the water and get to that part of your mind that gets excited. And that part of my mind, I cultivate that part of my mind. I get that motherfucker tight. I fire it up every day. I change the oil. But a part of that is also taking care of your body. Everybody wants to think that the mind and the body are two different things, but they're not. The better you feel physically, the better your mind works, and the more you can squeeze out of your mind. And I see that with a lot of my friends that don't exercise and they drink all the time and smoke. They get older, and then they don't have energy anymore. Their energy is like you'll watch their old comedy, and then you watch their new comedy, and the new comedy is like they don't have as much juice. There's not as much because they're fading, because they didn't take care of their machine. It's all together, and the mind and the body and your mindset, they're all together, and you've got to actively cultivate them, and you've got to actively encourage those powerful, positive thoughts.